بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور انفسنا ومن سيئات اعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد ان محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين. اما بعد، قال عز وجل بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ، أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ثم اما بعد. My dear respected and honorable brothers and elders and honorable mothers and sisters, we alhamdulillah at this moment in time within UK are alhamdulillah a very developed community, and alhamdulillah many of us perhaps sitting here are maybe third, some of us even fourth generation Muslim within UK. And even though I don't want to throw statistics at you, but just obviously as an outsider I wanted to share this with you. That alhamdulillah we're approximately, in 2016 they said there was approximately about 4.13 million Muslims in UK. That's 6 years ago. That's stats of 6 years ago. And approximately out of that, and this was the same statistic obviously in reflection to the number of people we have, 54% or more than half of those which are under 19. Does that make sense? So if anyone's good at maths, how many people under 19 do we have approximately? Approximately. Anyone? If no one can answer, then your maths is later. On a serious note, 4.13 million Muslims, approximately 50% are under 19. How many Muslims is that? Anyone? I'll give you the answer for you. It's 2 million. That's approximate. 2.15 is not bad. That's actually, that works out to be slightly higher, but that's okay. That's a good example. Well done. You know what I mean? So that half is approximately 2.8, and actually I think you're quite close. The point is that what I want to share with you is that what I'm trying to reflect, and the point of sharing that statistic is that you brothers that are sitting here, especially those that are under 19, form that majority of the percentage. Now the reason why I'm sharing that with you is because we need to ask ourselves a question, and you young brothers need to ask yourselves is that where do you see yourselves in 10 to 15 years time? Because you're going to be the future leaders of this ummah. Now I know that when we talk about youth in Islam, we talk about the shabab and youth being from the age of, there's a difference of opinion about Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi, who's a famous scholar of hadith. It's his opinion, and a lot of ulama have gone with this opinion as well, that the youth is up to the age of 30. Up to the age of 30 or classed as technically youth. That doesn't mean that you're exempt from any of the ahkam of Allah, because the moment you become physically mature, male or female, you become baligh, you enter into the stage of puberty, then you become mukallaf and responsible for your actions. So you're responsible for maybe sometimes the age of 11, sometimes in the girls' instance, sometimes even slightly younger. Point is that when we talk about the shabab and the youngsters of this ummah, it doesn't mean that now it's only up to the age of 13, or it's only up to the age of 15 or 17 and 18 now you're adult. Our definition of adulthood, obviously you become responsible from the age of when you become physically mature. But the word shabab, the word being like a youth, part of the youth, is actually up to the age of 30. That's the general consensus. So having said that, those young brothers who are maybe sitting here at age 15, some of you are 18, in 10 years time, 12 years time, you are going to be the future leaders of this ummah. You are going to be the future representatives, and the responsible role will fall on your shoulders. When I say responsible, it doesn't mean that you're not a representative. You are a representative from the time you go to school. From the time young children go to school and people identify you as being part of the ummah, you will automatically be a representative. Does that make sense here? So you don't have to be, it's not like this line you pass and then you become a representative. I'm saying the quality of leadership falls on your shoulders the moment you become part of the adult, part of the ummah. That's when Allah can ask you about this. Like, what did you do? This is your responsibility. But being a representative can come from any age. You can be a rep. Any age you can start representing the ummah. And when I say represent, you guys know what I mean, yeah? Representing. So you are those people that will carry the flag bearing, or you will carry the flag of Islam. And we need to carry ourselves in a dignified manner. We need to carry ourselves in such a way where people look at us and they take positive qualities from Islam. I suppose I shared this another time, but I'll share this with you, considering that there's a lot of youngsters here. Even though this is probably part of the job, inshallah, that we said this. Mus'ab ibn Umair radiallahu anhu, did you know that he was a trendsetter Sahabi? He was a trendsetter from amongst the Sahaba. And he was only very young. And he was such that, try to understand it from a worldly context of today. That if someone's got a massive following on social media, and they're very popular, very well known, they have a lot of following, to us that looks as though that person is classed as a trendsetter. So Mus'ab radiallahu anhu, from amongst the Quraysh, he was that particular Sahabi who was known to be a trendsetter Sahabi. He dressed the best way, he wore the most expensive, exclusive perfumes, his clothing, food, his footwear, everything was second to none. What he would wear would be the new trend and the new fashion and the new way to be. Do you understand? And everyone was trying to copy and aspire to be like him. But you see, what happened was that, just cutting a story short, just to give you the synopsis or the brief summary of his life, is he abandoned all of that way of life, completely left everything, and he chose the path of Islam. The path of Islam was one for him, which was one of great difficulty, mujahadah, sacrifice, and all of these things coupled in one. And he made a lot of striving and sacrifice for the sake of the deen, to such an extent, subhanAllah, when he passed away, and they were putting him in kafan and shrouding him to the grave. As you guys know, that when someone dies, we shroud them and put them into the ground. It mentions that there was not even sufficient kafan that could cover his entire body. The hadith mentions, if you were to cover his head, his feet would become exposed. And if you cover his feet, his head would become exposed. However, one beautiful thing was this, subhanAllah, and this is what I'm going to show you. This is, obviously there's a lot more I can say, but the Mosque is not the focus on his life, but just so you youngsters can take from this. One side you have that trendsetter lifestyle, people are following you, they're admiring you, they look at you, you're the person. You don't, it's like now, you kind of take vibe of someone else, and if you see someone dressing good, you take as inspiration from them. Like now, it's mad, isn't it, how so many youngsters grow beards. But let's not fool ourselves. They're not doing it because they want to grow. Alhamdulillah, some have turned their niyyah towards the sunnah. But majority of the time, because Drake's got a beard or someone else has got a beard, so you just want to follow them. It just so happens convenient that it is the sunnah. And people say, no, bro, no, listen, let's not live in, let's not be gullible, let's be honest. Because the truth of the matter is like this, is that, you know those, they call them desert scarves? People never used to bust them at all. Everyone's got one of those scarves in their cupboard, because man go to Omar, come back and give us these cheap scarves that's hadiah. Right, and they say, here, this is a gift from the Haramain. Even though it's made in China, they come and give it as a gift. So what happens is, right, it's like this. We never used to wear them. It took someone in the Hollywood industry to bust it in a film or to wear it, and it looked quite stylish. And everyone, overnight, all Muslims started wearing desert scarves. Where did these scarves come from? Because now it's socially acceptable because the movie started it. It's socially acceptable because someone on social media did it. So do you see what I'm talking about? We need to get out of this mindset. A leader is not someone who blindly follows others like sheep. A leader is a person who can stand against the tide of pressure and still withhold his ground, his usul, his personality, identity, and know who he really and truly is. That's leadership. Sheep will always be sheep. They'll always go with the flow, go with the masses. Whatever people are doing, we'll also do as well. It takes a leader to stand up and say, no, I don't need to go with the flow. I'm a Muslim, I'm a person of Iman. Allah's given me my own choices, my own inspirations, aspirations, and giving me my own way forward, and I will choose that. That's a leader. That's someone who has leadership capability, potential, skill. And why we need to develop this more than ever is because now, unfortunately, a lot of youngsters are going through a mad identity crisis. Youngsters are kind of embarrassed sometimes of even being a Muslim. People are embarrassed to give salam because, unfortunately, in some people's minds, becoming Muslim is synonymous with maybe negative connotation of violence or something negative. It's because things are being portrayed on the media now. People feel a bit embarrassed, a bit kind of out of place to be able to kind of even respond to a salam. So like I said, right, is trendsetter Sahabis like Mus'ab radiallahu anhu, what he did was, is he went against all this type, he went against all of this, he abandoned every comfort of his life. And all pleasures, all kind of rahats, all comfort and tranquility. And then alhamdulillah, he entered into Islam and he remained steadfast and so firm on the deen, and he remained that way until he passed away. To, like I said, to such an extent that when they covered him in the grave, when they covered his head, his feet would become exposed. There was not even that much cloth to cover the body of the Prophet. So that, and then vice versa, if you cover his legs, his head would become exposed. The Prophet ﷺ, on seeing him, would sometimes shed tears because he would remember that this was a youngster that gave up so much for the cause of deen. Now imagine you are at the height of your popularity, everyone likes you, everyone wants to be around you. All you've got to do is do something and people are going to follow your trend. If you, like subhanAllah, one person puts a line here, youngsters will put a line there. Like, I was teaching him a madrasa, one youngster came to me and I said, I commented on his haircut because it's not a haircut one, it's called a Ronaldo. Just to clarify, it's actually called a Ronaldo. It's not a hairstyle. It's not a short back on side, it's actually been given a name, and he felt proud to say that as well. I don't know if I should share it, but I'll share it actually. You know what, right? I was in Birmingham, Alam Rock Sharif, right? This was like Ramadan time, last year, the year before. I was bowling down Alam Rock Road, and it just so happened that I made plans in my mind that I'm going to go back to Crawley where I'm from, Gatwick Airport, and I'm going to go to the shops and buy some trainers. Allah it was this, right? That as I'm bowling past, I look and I was like, oh brilliant, there's a shoe shop, let's go inside and buy some shoes. So me, I'm not interested in, you know, all it was just a plain shop, just a red banner. I walked inside. I don't even remember the name, that was irrelevant to me at the time. I walked in, and I asked the brother, a Muslim brother who ran the shop, and I'm like, I need a pair of trainers and I need a pair of shoes. So I'll have a pair of that, and I tried them on. They fit, they were comfortable, they were nice, I liked them. And then what I did was that I ultimately just walked out the shop with 2 shoes. This is the catch, right? I was with one person at the time, there was a few people, but one person in particular, he discouraged me, he said, nah, that's dead. You just bought a pair of shoes that are Nike knockoffs. And to me, I wasn't interested in what they looked like. I tried them on, they felt comfortable, so I bought them. People were commenting, like someone goes, oh man, sick shoes, bro, Nikes, sick. Oh man, look at those shoes. And I was like, they're not Nikes, they're some made in China, cheap knockoff. Now, do you know what, right? I don't know if you remember, were they called 97s or 93s? The black ones, fat hair buttons, bro, going all the way around the shoe. All I know is I put my feet in, they were comfortable, so me, I bought them. So one youngster goes, oh no, sick Nike, sick, I'm not Nike, made in China, cheap knockoffs. But do you know what it is? The reason why they weren't illegal was because they completely replicated the shoe. The only thing they didn't have was the tip. That's the only thing they didn't have. So because of that, there was nothing, no name, they were unnamed, everything was the same, from start to finish, the stitching, everything. If you would have just put them side by side and told somebody, an idiot, what's the difference? They would not know. They just thought there's one on one and one on the other. That's the only difference. Do you know how much I paid for them? 15 quid. 97s are 120 quid. Now why am I going to put an extra £105 into a corporation's pocket who doesn't give a monkey's where I'm alive or dead? Do you get where I'm coming from there? Why should I put my hard-earned money in their pockets? For you as youngsters, the reason why sometimes this may not resonate because it might seem a bit lame, like how could I wear it? First of all, they weren't fake copies. They're fakings, like they were just a copy. I'm not interested in the name, I'm interested in the comfort. Do you hear what I'm talking about, trend setting? And I asked one youngster, I said, would you wear this? He goes, nah, no way, that's lame. I wouldn't wear it, but I said, you're going to save us over £105. What's wrong with that? And he said, no. If you understand my example, you'll understand why I shared that with you. Because all it took is some people to wear a certain thing with a tick, and that affirmed it, that's a good thing. Now you spend your parents' money. You just demand from them, I need these trainers, I just need these ones. And if your parents said, well, do you want these alternative ones? You say, no, I want those ones. Just because they've got the tick, I have to have the name. And you have to spend the extra money, even if you have to go doing 12 hours working in a cabbie or working in a shop or factory or restaurant, whatever your parents do. You get me? So it's like, now this is the thing, that power has a big influence. It has a massive influence and a massive pull. What I'm saying is that it takes leadership quality and a skill to go against that and say, I'm not interested in if everyone's going in a certain club, I don't need to worry about that being to fit in that role. So this is why, what I'm trying to advise all the youngsters that are sitting here, is you need to become the best version that you possibly can. But I'm talking to the brothers and the sisters as well. We need to become the best versions of what we can. We need to become the best optimum what we can be. And with the intention to benefit ourselves and also to benefit the community as well. There's nothing wrong with having aspirations, so long as your aspirations are, you have good intentions, they're halal and permissible, and you, inshallah, you want to use that skill to benefit and uplift the ummah. And I'll give you some examples in just a minute. I strongly encourage Muslims to get into some form of academia. I strongly encourage that. And the reason why that is because historically Muslims were such that we contributed to so many different fields across the globe. Muslims were, in some instances, they were founding fathers of fields of knowledge. And I'll share a couple of names with you, maybe inshallah this will resonate with some of you. But if you look at, for example, now the father of modern surgery, the tools we use, the father of operative surgery particularly, one of the founding fathers that you can say who was pivotal in introducing this knowledge to the world was qasim al-Zahrawi. Now the names I'm going to share with you, it's not limited just to this list, I'm sharing you those names who were duly educated. They qualified in the thing of deen and they also qualified in the thing of what we call dunya. Now I personally don't like this distinction. I personally don't like calling it deen and dunya, because this is a secularism concept that's creeped into the Muslims, where the idea of the Enlightenment period was to separate church from state. So they come up with this notion that we need to separate the two completely. Now because obviously we had colonial powers that came to Muslim land, we've taken these values and ideas, imbibed them thinking that they're part of Islam. In actual fact, they're not. The thing which is condemned, I don't know if you guys understand what I just said. If you have good, if you haven't, you're not ready for it. I would rather hear he knows what's going on. I see some other heads shaking as well. You understand that's all good. It's like this, right? Subhanallah, what bit? I'll tell you about colonialism. Yes, as I was saying, what happened was that historically Muslims always had dual education. They always were masters in both fields. They never separated to say, oh, this is worldly knowledge and this is this knowledge. If that knowledge helped your community, took you onto Allah, made you conscious of Allah, that was ilm nafi'. That was beneficial knowledge. Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'an wa rizqan wasi'an. That's the dua. But this particular thing, the Prophet ﷺ made a dua, Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'an. Allah, give us beneficial knowledge. Beneficial knowledge is categorized by this particularly, that your knowledge is helping yourself, your community, taking you onto Allah. Number two, the knowledge which you acquire becomes your action. The knowledge which you acquire, you practice. That's beneficial knowledge. Let me explain that further. So somebody acquires a field of knowledge. Someone, for example, now, I don't know, yeah, let's take this in front of me. Let's say you've got a camera here. Somebody has a camera and they do stupid pranks, making people scared and uploading things on YouTube or Twitter or TikTok, or making themselves what they class to be a superstar by making people look like fool. That's one way of using a camera. And you're going to get likes and you're going to get hits because we're in a jahili type of world where nonsense sells fast. Listen, Allah forbid, this is the mentality of some people, is that it's more common amongst the sisters, may Allah protect our sisters as well, and women in general. It's quite common that in order to become successful and popular, all you have to do is just do away with certain attire and boom, you become a hit. I try to say that politely as well, so I don't want to sound too grand because there's youths in the message. So we've got to keep it nice and simple. But you get where I'm trying to come from, right? Like it's about exposing and all of a sudden, boom, a person can become a hit. But why do you have to drop from your idea? So you can use the camera for a negative, or you can use it for a positive. This can be used to forward ideas related to the deen. It can be used to propagate Islam. It can be used to dispel the myths related to the current which is facing the Muslims. It can be used as a means of motivation. I'm not here to score points. Wallahi, understand that clearly. I can walk from this job with people that don't like me. Wallah, it doesn't make no difference to my sleep. I'm not here to score points. This is why I talk the way I do, and this is why I speak the way I speak, this is why I act the way I act. Because I am true to myself. Now I know some people are not going to like me. Some people are going to listen, walk out, and some people are going to say that's not suitable for the masjid. Personally, I don't care what people think. Why I'm sharing this with you, not to be arrogant, is to say that you have to be confident within yourself. I, alhamdulillah, have that sense of understanding about myself that I'm not looking to score points. I'm not going to use these things to promote myself or to promote an agenda or just to get popular or na'udhu billah try to forward some next agenda, you get me? I'm not rolling like that. We want to utilize these things for something of khair and something of good. So that's why I said the instrument itself is not bad, it's your use and the way you use it. So taking this as the example, if you utilize this and your intention is, by this I want to help spread the deen in whichever way I can. I want to help forward the message of Islam. I want to help dispel the myths related to the deen. Your action becomes a means of worship and ibadah because your niyyah and your intention is to help and propagate deen. You guys getting where I'm coming from? So similarly, the people examples I'm giving you, they are those people who were, number one, duly educated, but they also were a means of benefit for the society and the community at large. So I gave the example particularly firstly of qasim and if you're wondering why am I talking about these people, for those brothers who came late, I'm talking about individuals, educated Muslims of the past, who contributed to the Muslims' advancement and mankind's advancement. Number two, right, is some of you have studied maybe physiology and anatomy. Yeah, so the person, does anyone have, I don't know, I'm on a quiz here, I don't know, I asked the question about maths and no one answered, so it's a long shot. But does anybody know who the founding father or the person who physiology and anatomy is attributed to? If no one knows, I'll give it you for free. His name is Ibn Nafis. Ibn Nafis. Oh Allah, Nafis is not Omar Hayshab. Pay attention, just in case one will be in your mind who was there. Listen, we're here, yeah? We're here. This is a person who is duly educated, and because if you look at his name, he was the person who was the founding father of physiology and anatomy. Let me give you some more examples. If you know optics, even the camera example which I gave, Ibn al-Haytham, he was the one who was the founding father of optics. If you look at the kind of ideas behind optics and so on, he was the founding father. All these cameras and lenses and so on, it can be attributed, he was the first person to come up with the concept of light and entering objects and all this sort of stuff. And the tests he did, they're just phenomenal, subhanAllah. But you get where I'm coming from, right? That Muslims were duly educated and they benefited both deen and dunya, and that's the message which I want to share. And while for those young shabab who are listening here, and especially for the young shabab who are engaged in conversation, so let me share this one with you. You study chemistry at school and algebra. Yeah? Okay, good, but did you know that chemistry, the founding father of chemistry was Jabir ibn Hayyan? And algebra was Khawarizm. You get me? So, again, my point and my central message is that these Muslims had acquired the best of both deen and dunya both. And as I've said, separating the two to say this is separate and that is separate, I don't think that is even a sensible way to think. You have beneficial knowledge. Like I said, you can acquire that knowledge. Like one youngster, he wants to acquire this type of knowledge and uses that to help the community, and it's not for his own personal gain, he's doing it for the sake of Allah. That knowledge is beneficial. But then if a person uses that same thing and thinks I'm going to become a TikTok star, I'm going to get following and I'm going to walk down the street, people are going to say hello to me. Well, do you know what it is, right? This is the funny thing, because some people, what they do, in order to get popular, in order to get liked, they do stupid things to get attraction and attention. But because that's not your core, that's not who you really are, you're just temporarily filling a void of inadequacy because you feel like you're not liked enough. So you do stupid things to get noticed, but deep down you know that's not you. That creates a sense of anxiety and depression in the person because your core is not who you're portraying to be. You know what I'm saying? So this is why you have to be true to yourself. And why I say to the youngsters here is aspire. Aspire. Have an intention to inspire. And try to inspire before you expire. Do you understand? I don't know you guys, I'm not saying anything here, I don't know if English is too hard or whatever, I don't know. So I want you to aspire to inspire before you expire. What does that mean? That's not bad, using life well. I'll go with that. That's worth some brownie points. It's basically to have the desire to want to benefit and inspire other people before I leave this worldly life. In another way to say it. So that's why I'm appealing to all the young brothers, all the sisters that are listening. Think what I can do. What can I do? Because I'm going to be in this position of leadership within my community within a short period of time. We've got a lot of youngsters, and I mentioned the hadith in the beginning, نِعْمَتَانِ مَغْبُونٌ فِيهِمَا كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ الصِّحَّةُ وَالْفَرَاغُ. There are two blessings which we're in massive loss in regards to. One is your health, and the next one is your faragh and your free time. Now it's like this, a lot of youngsters here, their average phone time is looking at approximately 4 to 5 hours a day, average. I did some kind of research on this, and subhanAllah, phone use has become absolutely bonkers. And you know, if you really want to know how much you use your phone, you can actually get an app that tells you at the end of the week how many hours you've used it. So it will say you used it, for example, now 15 hours, 20 hours, and you can actually calculate how many hours could have been used for alternative things. I'm going to come to that in a minute, inshallah. But you see, what it is I mentioned this yesterday, but I suppose it's a good thing to also chuck it here as well. And that is that with a lot of youngsters, some people will say education is not my thing and I don't want to learn. I'm not into learning. You know what the new buzzword is amongst the youngsters? Entrepreneurship. I want to be an entrepreneur. See, this is the problem. He watches a couple of Gary Vee videos and a rant by Tate, and this I want to be an entrepreneur. But the funny thing is, he sleeps until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, while he's sleeping, I want to be an entrepreneur. Bro, what entrepreneur is that? Bro, grind. Well, show me some grinding, show me some effort, and then I'll say, Alhamdulillah, if you want to be, I encourage that. I encourage tijara. I encourage business. Why should a Muslim be out there receiving it? The hadith mentions the giving hand, the upper hand is better than the receiving and lower hand. So we aspire to be a benefit. But to just sit there and affirm that I'll be rich, I'll be rich, I'll be rich. You can do 100 affirmations a day. Your mind's going to go rubbish, you're not an entrepreneur. But when you get up and take that first step and grind, boy, then I'm going to see some entrepreneurial skills come out. Let me see how many investments have you made? None, but I'm an entrepreneur. On the profile, a 16-year-old entrepreneur. What have you done in your life? God, back here, working on a company, mashallah, parents are looking up, an entrepreneur. I salute your enthusiasm. But read some books, get the knowledge, get the cutting edge over other people, and let's see you put some of that word into action. I'm not against it, I'm saying show me what you can do. Don't become a people of talk. I'm fed up with people talking. Always people want to converse. I can do this, I want to do this, I aspire. Then do it, man. Stop talking and just do it. You know the problem is, for some not all, but this is a big factor. So you know what stops us, you know what cripples us, that we know what we want to do, but we don't do it, is the fear of failure. Deep down my mind, if I make a fool of myself, and that's going to be more painful. So the fear of failure stops you from taking any action whatsoever. Now, some of the work which I do in my particular job, being a counsellor and psychotherapist, so I try and nurture people, train people, and get people past that barrier so they can take that step and actually conquer that thing of fear. And it's not a very complex process. All we have to do is just get people to think that I have to do this job and I have to move towards it. And I'm the person that pushes them to achieve that goal. But inherently, every single one, this is not reserved for the 0 to 1% of mankind, or specifically just for a limited few, or people that are born with a certain talent. Everyone can gain the quality and the leadership of being a leader. Leaders are not born. We can all learn to be good leaders. We can all learn these skills. There are some that are more genetically kind of coming from families and the discussions like that within the home of business and entrepreneurship and so on. And I get that. But you can still learn to be a leader. You can still learn to lead. But to sit in bed until 2 o'clock in the afternoon and sleep at ridiculous times at night, wallahi, this is not the success, and you are not mimicking, you are not modeling those people who have achieved success in the past. So talk is cheap, show me some action. That's what I'm trying to get at. And that's why I mentioned the hadith, نِعْمَتَانِ مَغْبُونٌ فِيهِمَا كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ الصِّحَّةُ وَالْفَرَاغُ. Many people are in loss in regards to their health and also free time. So these youngsters who are sitting here, ones who have more time on their hands, utilize that time for something beneficial. I'm going to give you some suggestions at the end, inshallah. But what I do strongly urge, which I cannot stress more than enough, is that whatever you get into, whether it's entrepreneurship, business, whatever the case may be, jobs, academia, just for Allah's sake, do that thing which is permissible, halal, and something which would be good and beneficial for Ummah. Just always keep that in mind. So one brother, he came to me, and he gave the example of banking. I want to be an investment banker. Can I? I was like, absolutely out of the question. Why? Because you're involved in a riba-based fiat system on which it exploits the miners and centralizes the wealth in the hands of a few. I cannot see that being a permissible idea for a Muslim. So I've got my other reasons as well, just in case anybody wants to throw out a rule out and say, which world are you living in? Just because the world is functioning in a certain way doesn't mean we have to be part of that particular system. We have an alternative system as well. Islam has its own solution to these problems, but I'm not here to talk about Islamic banking and economics. That's another bit, inshallah. Point is this, whatever you choose to do, make sure it's halal and permissible. I'm not going to say cultures and countries. Certain cultures and countries have become synonymous with the word fraud. Certain cultures. I went to go and buy a car, subhanAllah, I don't want to mention too much. I pull up now, right? And the brother, subhanAllah, he was a brother because he was calling me bro and bro. But there was no logbook on the car. I was like, nah, I'm not. And he was, no, I'll send it to you, bro. I'm like, well, if you haven't got it now, then when are you going to send it? So I walked away. Now this is a so-called, and do you know how they lure you in? They call you bro. This is the thing, and we fall for it. He's a brother. I bought a car once from one Budara in my area, subhanAllah. And he was calling me beggar. And I thought, bro, what's this Budara and not me, bro? Wallah, he sold me a car that was it was a qadhi, but it was a complete write-off, and they refixed it or whatever that happened. But he loved it, and I didn't ask him because he goes, oh, mashallah, beggar, or you're for $1 million. I'm like, what's how's he gonna rob me? But he won me over. So I gave him more money than what it was deserved. So why I'm sharing this with you is that because sadly, some things, don't choose the quick way, don't choose the quick fix. Don't be so short-sighted. Like one brother opened up a business locally, and you know, all they're thinking of, just go make money, quick as they can. Business flop, it's okay, I'll open under my Chacha's name. Start doing business under Chacha's name, uncle's name, buyer's name, and that is short-sighted thinking. Think 10 years ahead, 15. Big corporation, they didn't start with the thing I'm gonna rob people. It's like, how can I develop a business that will be in 100 years' time? What do I need to do? Focus on quality, focus on skill, focus on delivery. Not just a quick fix, money will come. You know, it's like this, I told you, right? I told you money will come, right? You know, I'll give you an example of the Nike trainer. Be honest. And if you want to show a raise your hand, by all means, I'll salute you for your bravery. If you had 120 quid, would you rather buy the £15 shoes and pocket 105, or would you rather buy those 120 quid Nikes? Be honest. Honestly, if I showed you my shoes, right, those kicks look identical. But one was 15 quid from Alan Brock, Sharif, and one was 120 quid. Now why, like I said, should I put an extra 105 quid into the next man's pocket? A corporation. I shouldn't. I don't care. I don't like them anyway. And I'll say that 105 pound Eid was coming up, mashallah, I'll spend it on other particular things that were beneficial for my family. And when you become a parent, I don't know about anybody here, actually you might be able to relate to this, and some other fathers. You don't like spending money on yourself. It becomes, I don't know. I don't know if anyone else gets that. I just feel a bit guilty. As a parent, I say, no, everything to go to my children. I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to go and do some soul searching. But it becomes a thing that you want to give everything you have to your children. To even give yourself the basic necessities. So the youngsters here, ask yourself that question without even going off on a tangent. Some of you still will say, no. I still want 120 pound shoes because that's where I'm going to get my affirmation. That's where people are going to say, I like the Nikes. Now, when there's two things that are absolutely identical, why would you still go with the more expensive one? It's because that image has been established in your brains. It's the same thing. You can even buy, look, I don't know how I got this thought, I'm going to say it anyway, just to see what came to my mind, I'm going to share it. As we were driving here, I saw a big billboard, and it showed you all the Asda. So it showed you a big pile of shopping, and it said Asda, £111, all the £89. The same things you can get for cheaper. But you'd have die-hard people that would say, nah, I'm going there. I'm not going anywhere else. So if you can understand why I'm giving you the examples, I just said, we think short-sighted. Let me just get in there, let me earn money, let me earn some money, and then boom, I'll just become bankrupt. And then I'll send my money to Dhaka, sit there and build a house in Bindi or something like that, and I'll declare myself that I've got no cash there. That's stupid thinking, that's short-sighted. If you work on providing quality, you work on providing decent things. I'm talking to the young brothers, leaders of the Ummah, listen carefully, this is going to help you in the future. Don't think short term, 6 months, 8 months, a year, rinse the money, then I'm going to go to this place and that place and live large and take selfies on Instagram, upload them, get some wow. Forget on this. Think long term, think for the future. Think how you can benefit. And people will come to you. Focus on delivery, focus on quality, and you will have those people that will put the £120 in your pocket, not the 15 in the other one. Do you understand why I gave the example? Work on that skill, and people will come and give that to you. But you have to separate yourself from the rest. So obviously, look, we have different types of rulers, different types of leaders, different types of skills. In our community at this moment, we have four particularly, right? As identified by one particular guy, one particular academic. One is the more authoritative type of leadership, authority. So basically it's more, what I say goes, you haven't got a choice, get the job done, full command and control of the people. What that does is unfortunately, having this sort of authoritative pressure role, you get the job done, but people do it without any creativity. Now, I don't, this is going to sound a bit harsh how I say this, but this style is really more common in our communities. Where it's, I said so, I'm the elder, you shut up and just do it. Now, alhamdulillah, may Allah reward our young brothers and the shabab and the sisters that we accepted because we said, mother, father, we just accept it and do it. But in that process, what happens, it creates an individual who is not fulfilled in life, and deep down they're crushing their desires, but they're doing it to fulfill you and make you happy. So we make dua that Allah put khair in their decision. But they are an unfulfilled person deep down, so they actually want to do and achieve something else, but we've put that down. The way to achieve that is there's a different style of leadership as well. So one is authoritative. You do as I say, this is what you must do, there's no choice. I'm the leader, I'm the committee member, I'm the chairman, I'm the engineer, I'm the managing director, I'm the CEO. That doesn't help. You get the job done, but what happens is that it creates less creativity. Number two is a more democratic style of leadership. Guys, listen, this message I'm going to share, but more for the older brothers who are more in a position of power, authority. Listen to this. Is your style more authoritative? Where you get the job done, but you'll have people behind you that make shukr once you leave the dunya, that bro, shukr is an entrepreneur. Well, thank God to be away from that need. It's like there was one guy, subhanAllah, he said, as soon as my dad told me, just rush and pretend that we're doing like namaz and pretend that we'll become sharif. And I was like, la ilaha illallah, you're doing the ibadah, not for the sake of Allah, but you're doing it to please na'udhu billah, to mankind and the floor. So the second style was more sort of style of leadership and leading is a more sort of democratic style. Now obviously I know that word has some negative connotation in our community. Don't look at the word, just listen to what is involved. It's basically a way, right? Which is, it offers, people actively participate in the decision-making process. The benefit of this is that the people who are involved, they also feel part of the project and they have more enthusiasm. They have more of an input and they actually want to achieve more. But the only side is there is less, you have less of a productive following. Meaning you don't have die-hard followers because everyone says, I'm also a boss. So you have less of a following, but you have a bit more of an increased productivity. And then you have another style, which we refer to as a laissez-faire style. Third style, the first was authoritative, democratic, a laissez-faire, let it go. Just do as you please. Whatever comes in your mind, let's go with that. Like we have the sort of Scandinavian model of school. Has anyone come across this? So in the model here, it's like teachers come, educate, you do this, go on. The Scandinavian model is every child comes to school and they say, well, what should we learn this week? Someone says, I think we should learn about dinosaurs. They say, dinosaurs it is, let's go. And they focus on that one subject. But the interesting thing is that there's children far excel in those environments than authoritative styles. And they have the best grades in the world. And they have no homework and there's no exams. How does that work? It's because people are allowed to flourish, because they choose something that they feel passionate about and they do it. The only downside with this particular thing is that it's the least productive sometimes. You get the job done, everyone feels involved, but it's sometimes to get the job done is difficult because everyone's free to do what they want. This is also very tricky, so you have a happy result of people, but the least productivity. And then there's a blame culture as well. It's your fault, this person's fault. There's a blame culture. So the last style is a more charismatic style. A more charismatic style of particular leadership, a more charismatic style of leading. Now what happens is that in this is the leader himself, the person, him or her at the top, they inspire positive change. They give you positive information. It's inclusive. It involves all three really. There are certain elements of all three. There's an element of authority, there's an element of democratic, not democracy, but a democratic leadership. And there's also, in addition to that, a free laissez-faire style leading. Why I'm sharing this, because you may think, where is this guy going off on the topic, is that particularly if we want to engage the youngsters of today, in our masjid, we're going to have to adopt this last method. To tell them, come and sit down, shut up, get in the corner, don't move from here. They'll sit for 5 minutes and then they'll do a run. If you put 2 youngsters involved in decision making, it becomes a problem because they're not fit to make a decision. They'll be happy to take part, but the productivity will be less. And if you say, you come and run the show, it will be a mockery. So 3 styles don't work. We need to adopt this 4th style of leadership amongst our leaders and our community elders, where we include the youngsters, give them positive words, try to encourage them, positivity, take their intent, sit down with them, listen to their concerns, take their things on board, try to accommodate, but still have that relative, not control, but that overall hand where you are responsible. And that's why I just shared that with you, because that's the leadership we need to create, and then these youngsters will model your style of leadership for the future. So it works from both ways. So I know that I'm trying to focus particularly for the youngsters. I was going to focus more on the youngsters, but that last part was more for the elders of our community. Be more nurturing with your youngsters, be more laid back with them, show muhabbat and show, mashallah, a sense of kindness to them, and you'll win them over. You know why so many people become victims of things on social media? Because deep down they're hungry for love and attention. That's what it boils down to. Because all of us have the need for love and affirmation. All of us do. Even if you're 60, 70, 80 years old, we all have it. It's an inherent quality, the need which we all aspire for. And when they take that away from somebody, they seek it in other different ways. And that's why it's very dangerous in our community, because what we find, some communities are different, but amongst this, it's quite common. I don't know what it is, and I'm going to be bold to say this quite as it is. In a more sort of Asian mentality, we let boys kind of run wild. We're very harsh on the girls. It's like this in other cultures as well. I'm not saying everyone's free, but what happens is when there's an imbalance, that's when it's going to create a problem. Or when we're unjust, that's when it can create a problem. Now again, that opens up a can of worms. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. Let me try and read in what on earth I'm actually talking about, and if someone's lost and they think, where are we or where are we going? I spoke about the importance of developing skills within our community. I want to see youngsters aspire for education, employment, entrepreneurship, all these particular things. Because they did a survey of a number of students, and they said that only 18% of 100% of Muslim students got a 2-1 degree. And I find that really upsetting to hear that, man. That's why I worry about the movie statistic. That means only 20%, up to 20%, 1 in 5 is only really like excelling at the top. And if you compare that, and why it was quite concerning, because the headline was comparing different faith groups and their advancement. We don't know whether they're doing it with sinister intention or it's just for informative purposes, but for us, we need to introspect, look at our community and see where we're going wrong. And that's why I'm inspiring. Listen, put down these dumb phones, man. Use your phone, but limit it, you get me? Limit the use, man. What do you get out of scrolling for 3 hours on TikTok? What did you actually get at the end? What difference did that actually make in your life? What did you actually get out of just mashing up someone else's snap? What did you get out of just going through endless amount of articles on Twitter, reading just garbage all the time? Did you actually get anything out of this? Did you actually improve your life in any way? It's a fallacy. I think I'm advancing. Well, no one's advancing. That's the doka, that's the deception. And as a mu'min and a believer, the Prophet told us that be weary. Many people are in loss in regards to their time. So we have to value our time, guard our time. Now that doesn't mean I don't believe in chilling out. I mean, personally, alhamdulillah, I go to the gym every day. I'm there powerlifting, I do my thing, alhamdulillah. I need to work on reducing the carbs, I hear that. But inshallah, we're on that as well. The point is that that's my free time. That's an enjoyable activity, but I'm doing it with the intention of benefiting my health and my sihha. So I'm not saying we have to lock ourselves in the room and just read Quran. I'm saying keep a balance. Strike a balance between all these different things. Use social media if you're using it for a good halal purpose. If it makes you ghafil of Allah, if it makes you ghafil of the akhirah, then you need to just start and leave this particular thing. It's better for you than to go on a detox and abandon it. Promise you. But if you can maintain within the boundaries, it can be permissible, but you have to ask yourself, is it beneficial? Am I getting something out of this? I don't want to ask for a show of hands, but other than your mandatory school reading that they tell you have to read, how many of us actually read things? How many of us have read classical books? The information that has contributed, Islam and non-Islamic, both Islamic and non-Islamic. The Sira books that we prize, like Ibn Sira, Ibn Hisham, even basic books of Hadith, Riyadh al-Salihin. I know Bukhari, Muslim, they're quite dense, but even the small ones. How about reading a small manual on fiqh, the halal and haram of life? The basic things I'm talking about, simple tafsir. But yeah, I can sit and scroll on Twitter for 3 hours. I can sit and scroll on TikTok for 5 hours. I'm GTA for much better hours. You know what I mean? So we have to, as a community, really think which direction we're going in. Just because others are doing it and they talk about their involvement, it doesn't mean we have to do it. We have a choice to make as well. Because you are our future leaders. You are our we dependent. We're going to become Budeh Babi in the next 20 years. And then we're going to look to you for guidance and help. We're going to look to you to be our future leaders and aspiration and inspiration. So it's a big mantle to hand over. You guys need to be ready for this. So develop those qualities that tomorrow you can be that not authoritative, democratic, laissez-faire leader, but that productive, charismatic leader. Because you need to be enthusiastic, you need to be confident, you need to empower, you need to inspire, you need to remain consistent, determined, and you also need to be always consistent and be ready to change with the environment within the fold and the boundary of the deen. With having said that, I make dua that Allah Ta'ala make you, inshallah, from amongst those people, inshallah. May Allah Ta'ala give you that aspiration. May Allah Ta'ala give you that inspiration. May Allah Ta'ala give you the ability to aspire, to inspire before you expire. May Allah Ta'ala make it such that, inshallah, you can also be good flag bearers for the Deen of Islam and also be a positive impact for our community and wider community at large, inshallah. A lot of things can be said and we should have said, which we didn't have much at the time, but all I really want to finish off on, just literally 2 points. I'm conscious of time. I want to forgive you. What time is Salah al-Maghrib? 20, okay, yeah, so literally, I've literally got a minute. All I want to encourage the young shabab from now, right, is that we've still got a couple of weeks left. Try to make a bit of a timetable for some CPD for yourselves. You know, read something. Make a timetable where, you know, fix 2 or 3 hours a day to do some learning and interest. The amount of time youngsters come to me and think, well, what should I do with my life? What should I study? I don't know what you should study. You tell me what you want to study, and then I'll tell you whether it's permissible or not. What's your passion? What's your desire? What's your why? What will make, describe to me your most perfect day in your life. Where do you want to see yourself in 20 years' time? And you can look back and say, Alhamdulillah, I got here. I've got to my goal, my dream, my aspiration. So long as it's permissible, go for it. And don't be a victim just to think money. It's just going to be all about money. Because that money alone will not make you happy. Take my advice on this from my professional experience that I've worked with millionaire clients and I've worked with people who are, who are literally economically struggling. Money alone cannot make you happy. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's better to be depressed in a Beamer than it is on the bus. I hear that. But money alone will not, just having a bigger bank balance doesn't make you feel better. So something else has to be your calling. Do you know what I'm saying? Figure what that thing is. Take time to look at what you really want to do. Always ask yourself this question. If you were to get 100 grand for any job you could choose, what job would you do? Forget, I know this wouldn't happen, but just to get you to think out the box. If money was not an equation, if the government decreed that every person must get paid 100 grand a year, what would you genuinely choose to do? You have all the jobs to choose from. That's when you really choose, I want to do this, I want to be a teacher, I want to be, I don't know, I want to be, I don't know, want to say any more examples, just in case people say, yeah, that's a good one. Think for yourself, inshallah. And on having said that, I make dua, inshallah, Allah Ta'ala make that affair easy. As Molana mentioned, I'm going to be privileged to be spending some time here tonight. And it will be nice, inshallah. I mean, after the salah, you have workshops, take part in this. And mashallah, ulama that have put some time together. They're going to have workshops, and after Isha, there'll be obviously after Mizan side, he'll be here. And inshallah, I'll also be here as well. It'll be nice to catch up with the brothers. Now listen, I'm going to put a request, right? When it comes to Q&A, don't ask me thick questions. What's your opinion? What's your opinion on this scholar? Should I attend this person's lectures? Can I put my hands here or here? Well, listen, I'm not just saying to be quiet. I'm not listening to those questions. Go to your local ulama. These are qabil, respectable ulama. Go to them with these sorts of queries. If it's something around the topic which we spoke about, then ahlan wa sahlan, inshallah. Come and speak, let's sit down and have a chat, and we'll talk more about that then. Having said that, Allah give us the ability, inshallah, and inspire us. Alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Abdul Majid, Hafidhullah, Allah preserve you, protect you, continue to take the work of Deen from you, and we ask the brothers and sisters, inshallah, to take in what's been advice to us and also to act upon it, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, we have the privilege of Sheikh being with us for the entire night. After Maghrib is the second part of today's program, inshallah, the workshops. We have refreshments going to be given out, inshallah. So all the brothers are requested and sisters also downstairs to stay behind. Also after the Isha prayer will be food, Hafiz Mizan Sahib, and also the final session, which is the